California is losing people, yet home prices are still climbing. Just since the start of this century, more than 4 million people have left the state, yet California home prices have hit a record high recently, and they're still rising, such that fewer than 1 in 5 people can even afford the median home there, which is wild. How is this sustainable? How does this even happen? I'm going to explain why, backed with stats and numbers. Besides this paradox in California, you'll also learn what really moves real estate prices. Hi, I'm Keith Weinhold, Get Rich Education founder, Forbes Real Estate Council member, longtime real estate investor, and see my work in the USA Today. Moving out of the state has become such a trend that there's even a dedicated Wikipedia page named California Exodus. In 2023 alone, about 268,000 more people moved out than in, deflating the housing demand. Just consider the major companies that have moved their headquarters out of the state, taking their jobs and their money and their people with them. Oracle, Charles Schwab, Chevron, Tesla, SpaceX, Twitter, McAfee, Hewlett-Packard, and more. They are all gone, and that's because of higher costs, higher regulation, a more visible homeless problem, and high taxes. Their corporate tax rate is 8.8%. That's among the highest in the nation. And then for individuals like you and I, a 13.3% state income tax rate on high earners is the highest in the entire nation. I mean, just imagine that you're a high earner that lives and works in California. You pay a federal income tax of 37%, plus that 13.3% state income tax on top of it. So 50.3%, more than half of your income, poof, gone to taxes. And there can be other taxes to pay on top of that. For homeowners, the cost of utilities can be high. Same with homeowners insurance, which has become prohibitively steep in some areas, a lot of it due to a greater incidence of wildfires. That alone pushes some people out of the state. The exodus has even caused California to lose 1 seat in the U.S. House of Representatives, yet home prices still rise. How come? Well, for one thing, available housing inventory is still painfully low. You got a lot of homeowners locked into those 2 and 3% mortgages that don't want to sell. All right, but that's sort of a nationwide phenomenon. As far as what's unique to California, we'll combine that interest rate lock-in effect with tax breaks from something called California Proposition 13. That limits the amount that your property taxes can ever go up, and that fact really discourages people from moving out. Well, low mortgage rates and low property tax, that creates a serious incentive for not putting your home on the market, and that chills the release of inventory, because your mortgage and your property tax payment, they're usually your 2 highest expenses, and where they're both kept low, you keep your home off the market. So whenever a home does become available, which is not often enough, that creates buyer bids, and then the price gets run up. As we look at the volume of California home sales, so this is the number of properties changing hands. It peaks every summer just like it does everywhere else, and the sales volume fell in 2022, and you can see that it really has not improved since then. Even in major cities, listings are down. San Francisco is seeing 17% fewer new homes on the market. Cities like San Diego and Riverside aren't far behind. This scarcity keeps those bidding wars alive, even when some people leave. And investors also play a huge role. 1 in every 5 California homes are investor-owned, and in some counties, that number actually spikes above 80%. A lot of investors simply have deep pockets, and they're going to buy regardless of the local demand. Well, that creates a buffer against price declines. You know, those people don't care. International investors, especially from China and Canada, they still view coastal California as a safe haven asset, an inflation hedge, and they often buy luxury properties. High-end home prices in San Francisco jumped nearly 4% year over year to an average of $1.91 million, and that's all while lower-tier homes barely budged. Luxury buyers, especially those with stock gains, they have all-cash offers that are propping up home prices even further. So California's supply side is clogged. Since 1990, the state has added 9.4 million residents, but only 3.6 million housing units. That's a total mismatch, and it fuels rising prices. And then as far as trying to add more needed supply, in places like San Francisco, construction costs are just astronomical, almost $500 per square foot. That chokes off development. And then when you throw in lengthy permitting and environmental issues, projects just get delayed or shelved entirely. Affordability is in a terrible crisis. Only about 18% of Californians can afford the median-priced home. That is crazy. That's what supply constraints and outside investment does. I mean, just imagine a place where fewer than 1 in 5 of its residents find it affordable. That is super dysfunctional. You need an income of $221,200 just to afford the median home statewide, and that median hit well over $800K at the end of last year, a 5% year-over-year increase, and that's why homeownership is slipping out of reach for so many people. Hey, go ahead and put a like on the video if you like how I'm breaking it down so far. Thanks for the thumbs up. Rents are also among the highest in the nation, so a lot of people cannot afford the rent either. They've got to move to Texas, Arizona, Nevada, or Florida just to survive. They're 4 of the most popular out-migration states. Of course, though, California is long going to attract and retain some number of residents for their long coastline and beaches, and SoCal's Mediterranean climate, Hollywood, natural attractions like Yosemite Park and Sequoia Forest in the Sierra Nevada. So what's really happening? Yes, people are leaving, but they're replaced in demand by immigrants and investors. Though the state loses jobs, Silicon Valley also keeps creating a lot of new jobs. Even if they eventually leave, they get resupplied. Housing supply stays tight and often tighter thanks to locked-in sellers, high building costs, and these regulatory hurdles that are so hard to jump over. That keeps prices up, even as affordability has crashed down terribly. And also a California population exodus that is somewhat overblown. Exodus means mass migration. Is it really mass? This is kind of a funny clip. Fox News recently grilled California Governor Gavin Newsom about the state's population loss.
You are the only governor in the history of the state that has had significant erosion, a net loss of population.
0.3% during COVID. My gosh.
It's kind of funny there. As you can see here, the overall California population has really pretty much just leveled off ever since 2018, staying near 39 million people. Really little change. Here's the takeaway. Home price movement isn't just about population, it's about who is leaving, who is buying, wage growth, and whether new homes can be built fast enough. Watch more about Governor Newsom getting grilled, and he really does get grilled, about all of California's problems here. And with over 500,000 views, Peter Zion's take on Is California About to Collapse is this channel's most popular video ever right here.